India has the second largest road network in the world with 5.89 million kilometers. In the recent Union Budget of 2022-2023, the allocation for the Ministry of Road Transports and Highways has seen a 68% increase with rupees 1,99,107 crores rupees set aside. This is in line with the massive target of Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, as she has set it for expansion of national highway network by 25,000 kilometers in 2022 and 2023. Moreover, given the ongoing trends of project procurements across the construction and infrastructure segment, we foresee a major change in the equipment segment along with the building materials and sustainable solutions. On this note, as a part of our procurement series, you will be a part of a live discussion today on roads and bridges, modernizing equipments, design, and efficiency. Experts across the road construction segment and infrastructure sector will share their brief views on the trends, requirements, transformation in terms of products, solutions, equipments, and machinery to craft a concrete road ahead along with the budget 2022. Ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor and privilege for me to introduce you to our today's distinguished speakers, Mr. Shridhara CN, Associate Director, Technical and Marketing at PRECA Solutions India Private Limited, Mr. Sooraj Cherukat, Head for Sales and Marketing at Hailstone Innovations Private Limited. Mr. Sooraj, you pointed out very first thing that about 25,000 kilometers of expansion has been announced in the recent budget. So Mike, I would like to understand that this announcement means approx 70 kilometers of per day highway construction would be required. So what will be the challenges in procuring material locally, and how can the domestic market players make the most out of this opportunity to increase their market share?
Yeah, I would like to add a bit into this question, Mr. Sooraj. When we look at it, it is almost around 70% increase in the allocation in our union budget. Like National Highway Network itself of 25,000 kilometers in only 1 year, I mean 2022-23. So that is a big challenge that we were having a target of having 100 kilometers in a day in the previous year. And you can also, while looking at the challenges, you can also see that how it will encourage the aggregate business and the CE business, if you can cover that aspect as well, Mr. Rich.
Yeah, thanks. So specifically, like in 2023, what they were mentioned is about national highways expanded by 25,000 kilometers. So it is a very promising one. Even let's say at least 50 to 60% of that is being achieved also. It is going to be very wonderful. Again, the point is like majority now what is happening is like national highway big projects happening being very national. It's like contractors or EPCs from all across India are participating in projects all across India. It's not nowadays, there are no regional players specifically focused on few areas. So what normally happens is like whenever an EPC is doing a project at certain part of the country, at least 50 to 60% of the aggregates and material demand they manage by themselves, because they do plan some raw material area. Because it will be let's say the project is of few projects will be 40 kilometers, 60 kilometers, 80 kilometers segments will be allotted to different companies based on the bidding process. So they will have their own local crushing sites which they will lease or they will buy for 2 to 3 years. Plus the local players also will be supplying materials approximately around 40%. So what happens is that both the local parties as well as the EPC, they both are benefited. So there will be a huge demand, like specifically in mobile plants. If you look into the crushing things and all these things, people are not focused on going for stationary plants these days. Mobile plants where they install the plant specifically for the requirement of supplying material as per the Ministry of Roads and Transport standard or National Highway standard to the road project. Then they install it, they go for a very faster installation around 60 to 70 days, use maximum the plant for 2 years. Then they remove it and they use even public transport. Like basically nowadays even these trains are used for transporting crushers from one site to another site. So after 2 years, you move the entire system to a new site, get it installed there in 15 to 20 days, utilize there. Same thing is happening in construction equipments and earth movers, tracks, whatever it is. Now they are mainly using of the open track luggage trains or this one goods trains for transporting these things. So it is going to give a huge boom to the CE industry, where there will be demand for backloaders, crushers, track excavators, and all these things.
Thank you, Mr. Sooraj. That was very well said. Mr. Shridhara, what would you like to add to it? What are your views from the technical point of view, being a precast technology provider? Solutions.
Yeah, definitely it is good opening for the infra projects if it is going to happen in India, especially for road work. It is because transport minister is itself is very energetic. Nitin Gadkari is always energetically implementing the projects, and timelines also implemented in the government projects. The contractor has to deliver the projects on time, and that is the one thing. It's happening more developments in the road sector, but per day it is 73-75 kilometer achievement is itself is a big challenge. Definitely they has to go with advanced technology like precast and all some sectors, and they can achieve that one with good quality of roads and on-time completion of the projects also. Otherwise, it is I see, big challenge to deliver 73-75 kilometer per day, and it will reduce the disturbance to the passengers who using roads and all by implementing the precast things. That's what I want to add. And it is a good boom for especially the aggregate manufacturers. They has to get more revenue by implementing all these projects in all the area of the country. There's good thing happening.
Yeah, so Mr. Shridhara, you address about one aspect of it. Would like to also check that in your presentation you mentioned about the massive usage of precast for bridge construction. How far it is feasible for road construction?
Definitely, the precast roads can be executed. It is now no doubt on that, but has to be implemented in India. Some place already in India also they done actually. In Bangalore, some roads they done, and in North India, some area also they done some of the roads actually. One of the R&B chief engineer in North India is energetic and himself personally implemented the precast roads. Definitely, it is added advantages to the country infra developments if they adopted the precast technology, and it will give long life also because these are all pre-stress elements. The normally what is happening in road, bitumen roads, one seasons anywhere water enter below the bitumen, the damages will happen, potholes, everything will be come in the roads because bitumen is very weak. If water comes, the sinking of the surface will happen. If it is a pre-stress element, they will take more deflections and vibrations when the vehicle movement, and the maintenance of roads is really decreased drastically. Our in India, how much government is spending to repair the roads, nobody can imagine. That all can be saved for India. Definitely it is added advantage if they implemented the precast things.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Shridhara. Also, when you are talking about usage of precast, one of the delegate, Mr. Prem Naithani, he was asking what is the weight of precast for metro projects and also while using on bridges?
See, especially the precast elements, weight is always depends on the design, what is the sections will get. Normally, if you take metro and all, definitely it will weight 30 ton, 40 ton like that segments itself. That's why they will see when they are erecting special type of cranes they will use, heavy capacity special type of cranes they will use. It is precast always looks physically it is very nice, but it is risky also because we are handling lot of weight elements. If something happen, the disasters will happen. That's why it is always if you take metro, it will weight 30 ton, 35 ton and all. Bridges also, girders and all, it will weight 20-25 ton and all. That's all the logistic team and the design department work together to make the project successful in that.
Right, you said it very correctly that even the R&D team needs to be included in it. So along with this development, it would also require environmental safety concerns, and hence we would require safety, eco-friendly materials and BS4 compliant norms compliant equipments, and the innovative digital technologies. So how are companies and their R&D team can work to create more of environmental friendly materials, so as to bring less or to reduce the let's say emissions at the project sites?
Yeah, definitely. That all R&D departments, they will work always to, we call that as a carbon print, to reduce the carbon print in the concrete, because concrete emits carbon more when the reactions are happening. They will use, that's why the pozzolana materials we call as a silica, GGBS, uh, micro silica is there. These are all waste material actually will develop through thermal power plants and all. It will give more hazards to people if they didn't use properly. That's why they will concrete people, they will always do R&D and use that material to make use of the concrete usage, and it will help to reduce the carbon print in the concrete. Suppose as Sooraj told on the presentation, especially river sand. Now it is a river sand itself is a challenge, and it is a environmental, again we are stealing the environmental if we use more river sands and all. That's why most R&D people in concrete, they go on developing concrete using mechanical sands. The M sand will call some people mechanical sand, which is developed dust in the quarry. They will use as a aggregate in place of river sand to make the green concretes. These are so many R&Ds. Every day it is going, especially in the concrete, to make the more greener products in the concrete.
When we talk about R&D, Mr. Suraj, my question is to you that we are seeing even in recent budget a lot of encouragement for EV. How do you see electric equipment or usage of electricity in equipments in say aggregate production?
If we look into power saving, so one thing is that like we have been seeing a recent trend of even the motors, all these motors which are using are getting converted from I2 to I3, which itself is a power saving. So majority of the players like ABB, Procter and Gamble already. Even if we look into case of our, so we are moving our motors from I2 to I3, which is of power saving. There are good performance. Second thing is that since majority of the crushers have vast area, they are moving to have solar panels. Solar panels which is dedicatedly enough to supply their own needs. So that are the two things which we see in EV. Now, when you look into the total industries, the track mount plants and all these plants are slightly moving from diesel run generator into hybrid ones. Hybrid, or even if our products, also our tracks are also hybrid, which you have an option to run it on either electric or then the diesel. Further to that, even the trucks and all these things, all major players are now developing electrical EV kind of trucks and other earth movers, so that even JCB has launched, I guess. So there is a solid transition from fossil fuels to electric vehicles. So in all the segments, but relatively it is slower, but more focus on the national capital goods policy and all these things are giving much higher focus on making the usage of EVs into a more stronger one. So in various phases, like improvisation of the current equipments. Second thing is introduction of solar and all these things. And third thing, by converting from fossil to EV. So in three ways, this process is happening. Let's say in a time span of 4 to 5 years, we will see at least 50% of the total need moved into electrical ways.
Also, when we are talking about the concerns, environment concerns comes as one of the greatest challenge for development. It comes at a cost. I hope Mr. Shridhara, you will definitely agree that we are seeing a lot of R&D efforts in recycling as well as usage of recycled material for road construction or even for concrete. How do you see developments in those areas?
Yeah, definitely the developments are happening a lot in that area, because every people has to protect the environment. That is the one of the motto. Everybody should think on that, especially when the engineer is doing his construction and all. He has to think how I can give benefit to the environment by saving the environment. So many things are there in the environment. Even water is more criteria. We have a lot of shortage of water. How we can save the water? That's what I told in the precast. We'll use save a lot of water, because in cast in situ, lot of water is wasting in the name of curing. It is another disasters happening in our construction, because they don't have any choice. They can go now. The developments is happening, replacing water curing with the chemical curings and all. So many chemical players, they develop the curing compounds and all that can implement the construction sectors to save the water itself. And dust is another major thing construction when they are doing. In the precast, the dust can be avoided lot, because it is all precasted elements and they will come and direct only. And another is noise. When they are doing concreting at the site, a lot of noises will develop, and wastages will also happen, concrete wastages and all. That all noise can be totally minimized in the precast technology, and concrete waste totally they can avoid. That is because only small volume of concrete will happen at the precast. That is the thing. Major things can be give benefit for the environmental saving, and we can save the environmental pollutions lot by using this precast technology.
Thank you, Mr. Shridhara. And Mr. Sooraj, we heard a lot of new initiatives for new projects in roads, highways, and other infrastructure facilities. This definitely required a huge quantity of aggregates, and even like what you said, sand. You mentioned about artificial sand, but still, production of aggregate always become a challenge, looking at the constraints in mining as well as quarrying in most of the states in India. How do you see that? Do we need to relook at the policies and frameworks for quarrying and mining to keep up the pace of the development?
To be very frank, yes, we have to, because even if you look into cases of, because crushing and mining areas predominantly comes from, except certain parts where it happens below the soil. For example, Kerala or Karnataka or these few states, especially northeast, it happens above the soil. The mines are made on the hills. So these various rules and regulations, and the National Green Tribunal and all these legislations, to be very frank, are making it hard to get the sanctions and the papers needed in a timely manner. So even on one hand, we are running at a very greater pace for the national development with this much huge infrastructure development in focus. The other hand, the supply of the raw materials and the ease of doing business is going down. So it is going to affect the space at which the 75 kilometer or the 60 kilometer future was being planned to achieve. Yeah, we can have some alternatives like reused concrete, slags, and all this can be taken, but it will not be a permanent replacement, a permanent solution, or it will be not up to the mark which we are focusing on. So yes, there should be some green channels, some one-time approval processes, some project-based at least for certain years. Let's say national highways coming through a particular area. So just relax in that area at least in the rules and regulations, so that that project happens in the fastest manner. So there is no further sustainability issues. There is no further difficulties created for the common people, and the project achieves at a faster rate. So I will quote an example. We have a road project happening in six-way line in Kerala itself. It was supposed to be finished in 36 months. It got 12 years to complete. So very recently, again, said last week, they are officially claiming it to be completed. So 36 months to 12 years, it's a huge thing. And in the current pace at which the nation wants to develop, it is not advisable and neither acceptable. So yes, there should be some relaxations in what it is basically.
Thank you, panelists, for exchanging your views and valuable thoughts on today's session of Roads and Bridges, Modernizing Equipment, Design and Efficiency. We hope you have enjoyed today's session. Before wrapping up this session, we would like to thank our distinguished panelists, Mr. Shridhara CN and Mr. Sooraj Cherukat. I would also like to thank our editor, Mr. Prasad Kumar Nayak, for taking this initiative. To get more updates from B2B Purchase, you can follow our social media pages. Also, our application is available on Google Play and App Store for enhanced rating. So with this, we would like to announce the closing for today's session. I request you to stay tuned for more such sessions. Until then, thank you and goodbye, and take care everyone. Stay safe.